you lose your co-captain this week. Who might come in? Would we see Cunners back, or who's going to come in?
Yeah, he's going to be extremely close. We've sort of got to decide that this afternoon, the squad, and then work through that. But yeah, he's been at VFL level, played pretty well. Last week was a little bit quieter, but he's a good player, and with our captain out, he'll be right in the mix.
Yeah, and he's such a great cop. And how has he handled that? I mean, I've got an idea of how he has handled his sort of emotion, but how has you and the club handled that for Ben?
I think we've had the conversation about his form and that, but I can tell you one thing: when he got told that he wasn't in the team, what do you reckon the first thing he did? He said in a meeting straight away, he is so happy that Huey Greenwood got the opportunity. So that's the type of person he is. And people talk about team first and leadership, and they say, "Oh no, I always think about the team first." Well, you don't find out until you put under adversity. And for Ben to think about others when it hurts him not to be in the team, but for him to think about others shows the quality person he is, and he is team first. He's put under pressure and he delivered, and that's the type of person we're probably privileged to be working with. He's just a quality person.
Is he fit? Is he
available? It won't. He's sort of just missed one session that just puts the risk too high, and so we won't take that risk.
The performance on the weekend, off the back of losing Giant and Hugh in that game, to still be competitive. You spoke a bit about it post-match, but what does that do to, especially the midfield group, in terms of they don't have that experience, but the belief, does it push that?
I think with every game, players grow or they learn one way or the other, especially when they're young. So for Will Phillips to just put a few really good weeks together, that's 3 now, which is great. And Wardlaw showed what he can do at AFL level, and to have Thomas back as well, and Sheasel's gone through there. So our depth in the midfield's growing, and I think our self-belief is growing as well. So from that point of view, it's great.
Yeah, you're missing a few from that midfield. Obviously, can we expect Sheasel to spend more time in that midfield group?
I think that's what we'll work out today. Where do we use Harry and allow him to be involved in the game? So that'll be the conversation.
There was a suggestion on the weekend, looking at the performances, that your young boys really carried it, whereas your kind of veterans perhaps were a little bit slower around the contest, or a little bit not necessarily where they need to be. Have they heard any of that, I suppose, around their performance, like Ziegel or any of those?
Yeah, well, every player each week I catch up with, and I have a one-on-one conversation around their performance. So if there was a gap in their performance, we'd talk about it, and we did. Whether it's Zeeble or Phillips or Scott or Bergman, it doesn't matter. I think each player gets feedback around their performance and what was the missing piece this week, or what was the bit that grew in their game. So, I've caught up with every player yesterday and had that conversation.
With Wardlaw, you've been surprised how quick he's just adjusted to AFL level. He's just really taken it on.
Not really. His junior footy, TAC footy was that, when you're a ball player and you're around the ball, he can, he doesn't need anybody to sort of get the footy to him. He's the one that goes out and gets it. Or what George does really well, he gets the man. So if he doesn't win the ball, he's a very good tackler as well. So it hasn't surprised us, but I think we had to be really careful with George in the early part of the year. His body wasn't ready to play. So we had to just make sure that he could get some continuity in his performances, but he's still learning. I think, there's a bit of hype about George, and we can all see, geez, wow, this kid's come in for 3 games, but there's aspects of his game that he's still working really hard at, and, we need to round him off to become the player that he wants to be, but he's taken some really good steps into his introduction to AFL footy, and I think he feels he belongs here and he's waited for this opportunity. So from that point of view, it's good to see him get some traction into the game.
In terms of young players' strength through their core and their legs, with George in particular, I mean, have you sort of seen a player that strong that can compete with sort of men at that age? It seems like, for me anyway, it stands out.
Not off the top of my head. You probably think of the younger players that have had great core strength with Cochin and Dangerfield, those types that have Gary Ablett Jr. really core based strength. But No, I couldn't. I don't think he's those players. He's himself, but he does have that power through there, and yeah, it's quite impressive.
And just in terms of leadership of those two, like they're obviously very, very young, but they seem like, you know, that they others can follow their actions on the field, and they're very well spoken as well. I mean, where do you sort of see their development in terms of where they can go from that point of view?
I think leadership's about influence, and they do influence others, even though they're young. And when you look at their junior careers, they've been a captain or a vice captain, or they've led teams. So I think they have the qualities to become a leader, but they're still working on, you know, getting everything right. First year of footy, there's so much going on in their lives. So we don't need to thrust them into any leadership groups or doing that. Let them be the player that they can be, and the other side will naturally come out in the way they go about it.
And speaking a bit about positional stuff with Harry, but from a general point of view, whether it be tactical or behind the scenes, what have you done differently in the last 3 weeks compared to maybe what Al was doing? Because we've seen an energy and a competitiveness come game day in the last 3 weeks that we didn't really see before.
Not a lot, to be honest. I think what we have seen is some of the work that we've done when Al was here actually start to transfer over. And sometimes you work on things and they take a week, they take a month, sometimes they take a year. But we've seen some of that work that we tried to implement on the training track start to transfer over, and that's, you know, that was happening. It's just, you know, if Al was here, this would be the same. We're getting the benefits of it now. So yeah, but the reality is we've been competitive and we like the performance, but we haven't won, and that's what we're striving for. You know, it's a professional game. We need to win games of footy, and from our point of view, we like the way we're trending, but we would like the 4 points as well.
Do you think, though, taking away that noise that was surrounding the club, it might kind of limit the anxiety or the kind of state of flux that was around Clarkson during that time when we were wondering what was going to happen?
I think, you know, at the end of the day, Al needed a break from the game and needed to go and look after himself, which is fantastic that he is, and, you know, the findings that came out through the AFL. But, you know, at the end of the day, the group were pursuing things and we were doing things. Yep, there might have been some noise, and whether it was having an impact or not, I'm not sure. But what I do know, the group has been really focused and trying to improve as a team and as individuals. So the work that they're doing pre-training, post-training, the extras that they're doing, is a team that's striving to be better. And that's what that's the only thing we can ask as coaches and as a football club and supporters, knowing that their players are behind the scenes working hard, and we will get the benefits from it, I promise you. And some of the stuff that you said has come out in the last 3 weeks, well, we've been working on that for 2 months, 3 months, but we're starting to see some benefits now.
How do you bridge that gap against a side that's going through some of their own issues where you don't have a sync and agreement with two experienced players? You're close. How do you get that last little piece?
Oh, well, we give players opportunities, and that's been the great thing about you know, LDU's not playing as well. So when you look there and say, geez, if you're waltzing into at the start of the year we didn't have this midfield, you'd think, well, where are North going to be? But that's the opportunity. We don't know. You know, like last week, you know, a couple of weeks ago we played young Spicer, Phoenix. He has 6 tackles. Against Collingwood, he doesn't have much impact, but we back him in. He's a player that's only played for a short period in AFL terms, and then last week he has 9 tackles as a small forward, which probably number 1 in the competition, but no one speaks about that. So sometimes we won't have success one week, but backing and giving players belief that it's not just 1 week they're going to play and get put out. We're going to back them in for a little bit to see if we can get a rise in performance.
You got the bye coming up pretty soon. Is that maybe a time for Al to come back to the club, or is it too soon?
I don't know, and we don't need to put Al under any pressure. There's no timeline here. The first and foremost is him to make sure that he's right and ready to step in and do what he does so well. So from that point of view, it's let him take as long as he wants. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 4 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? Is it post-season? I don't know, but what I do know is give him the time, give him the space, and get back and be fresh and ready to go. Because as we found out, through Dimmer and other, it is a challenging job, and to make sure that you're right to go and perform at the level that you want to, and and take on all the pressures as well.
Has this sort of rekindled any desire for you to get a top job again, do you think, the last couple of weeks, or is it still sort of too soon to...
Oh, I'm just worrying about GWS. I've been in footy for a while now, and never say never. That's the thing. But I'm not putting my name out there or anything like that. It's just I've been put into this situation, and had faith to do it for North Melbourne and for Al and that. So let's just do this job and do it as best as I can.
Yeah, just one on Hanson Junior since he's come in from the draft. What have you seen from him on the track? And is he someone that could feature senior-wise this year, do you think?
I'm not sure. I think what we need to do is get him out on the park and have a look at him. But his tapes and the vision that was shown to the coaches was impressive. His speed and that is something that we need as a group. And some of his work with the footy was very impressive. So let him just get it amongst the group, feel a part of the group, and then play and perform, and then we'll make a judgment on